Okay, welcome everyone to a Dildo Dilemma, humor in the face of trauma. I want you to imagine being paralyzed by fear because every step forward was blocked by doubt, insecurity, and abandonment issues. That was me at the age of 16 to 22. Then bam, life sucker punched me. I became a sole support mother to my son who has a rare blood disorder. And I had two choices. I could stay down or I could get up and fight back. And I chose boxing because one punch, one competition, and one fear at a time, I learned how to punch back at life. And the lessons that I learned in the ring, which was about protecting yourself, standing your ground, and laser like focus, became my weapons for living on my own terms and protecting my son if the need should arise. And then fast forward a number of years later, I achieved Golden Gloves Championship in 2013, became voted the Entrepreneur of the Year in Greater Toronto Area in 2017, and became a coach full time and now a professional speaker, which, as my story, is about living proof that when women reclaim their power, they ripple a change through their families, communities, and even the economy. And yes, ladies, statistically, if we step into our power and invest in women's businesses, we literally can change the world economy within a year by trillions. And so let's get a little real here because only in Newfoundland, where I live full time, do I live close to a town called Dildo, which is right across the harbor from a place called Spread Eagle. And we still have Jimmy Kimmel, who was fired, then hired back again, who's claiming he's the mayor of the town of Dildo without stepping a foot on the island of Newfoundland. We can call it, let's say, a real dildo dilemma. But behind the laughs of all of this is a real sense of urgency because 1 in 3 women worldwide will experience a form of violence or stalking in their lifetime. And in my home province of Canada, Newfoundland, the rate is a little higher. 1 in 2 women will face violence and stalking in their lifetime. So it's a real time to end it with advocacy, awareness, action taking, and of course, a little humor to keep us standing strong and going on. Because when women step into their power, we don't just change our lives, we change the world. And so today's guest, Naomi Cao, is a divorce strategist, keynote speaker, that's how I know her, whoop whoop, who is redefining what it means to rebuild after separation. Naomi is the founder of Split Happens, a powerful framework that helps people manage both the emotional and practical sides of divorce, from finances and co-parenting to self-care and identity. Through Naomi's work, she empowers clients to reduce conflict, make better decisions, and create a future that they can thrive in. I love that. From surviving to thriving, so important. She's passionate about showing that while separation can feel like everything has fallen apart, it can also be the start of something stronger and more meaningful. So thank you, Naomi, so much for joining me here today. We want
Thank you.
to I always start by asking, why did you say yes?
Why did I say yes? I was fascinated by the title. And it's a way to connect, and you're on the other side of the world, and I'm in Sydney, Australia. And I guess for me, it's how universal the problem is and how women can actually stand together in different parts of the world for the same cause.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that you said stand together because really change happens with collaboration and connection. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes. So when many women can often feel overwhelmed when going through divorce or separation and it becomes a reality. So what's the very first kind of piece of advice that you usually give someone in those really kind of emotional first difficult days they're going through?
Look, women come to me at different stages of the separation and divorce as well. And the common theme that a lot of women experience is that a lot of us do take time out from the workplace to look after our families and become homemakers. So the biggest thing, the biggest fear, I think, for a lot of women is number one, financial. How are they going to survive? How will they make ends meet? And I'm in Sydney, Australia, which is probably one of the most expensive cities in the world. And for a lot of women, that's quite scary and it's quite daunting. And it's something they're not, they haven't, it's not that they're not familiar, but it's something they haven't focused on once they become mums. And so that is the biggest fear for a lot of women. How do they stay living in Sydney? How will they support their kids? What will the care arrangements for the kids? What will that look like? And what we do is we break it down into three parts. So we often look at the financial side for the women and seeing if they actually understand how the money flows within their family, where the money comes from, how it gets spent. And we look at the care arrangements for the kids. Obviously, we look to see if there is any family violence involved
Yeah.
and how that will look in terms of the care of the children moving forward. The ages of the children, because obviously that's going to play a huge factor. Um, for a 5-year-old, it might be easier to put them in the car to see dad, but how do you do that for a teenager? And that's some of the challenges. And the third part, which is really important, is the ongoing child support. How um, how much the cost of raising a child in this day and age. So we break it down to three segments, and we go through, and I work through with them on a step by step basis.
That is amazing. You must get like so much incredible I don't know if praise is the right word, but like going through such a challenging time like that, there and having that like really straightforward support that addresses all the emotional needs is
Yeah,
really impactful because I know there's a number of changes that I made in my life when my son was small because of those reasons. And the main thing was like childcare arrangements, and because I was nursing full time, barely sleeping, and I struggled so much for overnight shifts, and I just couldn't do it anymore after like 2 years.
yeah,
Uh, it was stress, like you're stressed already at work, and then um, you're wondering like when will I be able to have childcare for my kids so small, so
yeah. And I'm not sure about you guys in Canada, but in Australia, we've got school terms that go for 10 weeks, have 2 weeks school holidays, go for another 10 weeks, have 2 weeks, go for another 10 weeks, two
uh,
weeks, and then another 10 weeks, and then it's 6 weeks. So when you're looking at condensing all that, you're looking at 12 weeks worth of school holidays or school, when the kids go on vacation. And if mums have the bulk of the care of the children, how can she actually go to work? And there's so much logistic side of it that we really need to consider that you wouldn't have had to consider when you were in a relationship.
yeah, yeah. And with that, I'm sure like it comes like a lot of emotional kind of upheaval. So I know that you emphasize the importance of creating a safe, confidential space for emotions. What do you
Yes.
find are some of the most common feelings that clients can bring to you? And how do you find that it's kind of best to move them forwards from breakdown to breakthrough to help them?
I think a lot of the times we might feel the fear, but so often women don't really openly say, "Hey, I need help." So
Mm,
it's creating, we always want to do everything. We want to be everybody to everyone else. And it's giving them that permission in that space to say and scream it out, really, and
mm,
say what they really truly feel. and be really vulnerable in that space. And there's no judgment. So a lot of the times I provide that space because it doesn't go any further than me and that client of mine. So it is really a safe space for them to lash it out if they have to. And they, for some women, the separation can come quite suddenly and they didn't expect it. So there isn't a story that I haven't heard before. Occasionally, sometimes I still get surprises, but the emotions of anger, disappointment. A lot of women do put their life on hold for their family, and so they feel duped. And it's an opportunity for them to lay it all out, and then once that is laid out, and they have somebody listening to them, then we can actually work on the process. So it's being heard, being recognized that there is a lot of things that women hold back when you're having a family.
Yeah, that's incredible. I really commend you for creating that safe space, because that this is about podcast is about like bringing shedding light to trauma, and
Yeah,
so having safe space which is non-judgmental, and I always say that to my clients or anyone who's a potential client, that's creating that creating those safe spaces and clear healthy boundaries of understanding that this is you can land here maybe the way that you haven't landed anywhere else when what you're going through is really, really important for emotions and opening up and getting to the truth and change. So that's
yeah.
incredible. So legally, I know that I'm sure the court systems in Australia could be different than Canada. Uh, but can you just kind of break down a little bit of the legal and financial steps that can feel like monumentous at times? Like you look at it in the three parts, but
Mhm.
what's one kind of practical action step women can take when they're going through the immediate process to make it feel a little less daunting?
Yeah. In Australia, there are several processes. We have a no fault divorce system in Australia. So irrespective of how the relationship ended, there's no fault to either party. So we look at that there's a breakdown in the relationship. Um, we identify the three areas, like I've mentioned before, the financial, the parenting, and the ongoing care of the kids. Once that is established, what I end up doing is I end up becoming a translator. So I work very closely with family lawyers. And while there is a place for family lawyers, a lot of the times when women come to me, they are highly emotional and it's it's warranted.
Mm.
So we work through the emotional breakdown first before, I guess, making commercial decisions. And so that what I go through is explaining through the terminologies, and there is a handout that I give to my clients, which gives the legal terminology and an explanation of what that process is. And sometimes that is still confusing. So a lot of the times when I go through the coaching with my clients, we do that breakdown of the steps. So for me, there's never a stupid answer, a question, never a stupid question. And so people can ask as many times, and a lot of the times they'll say, "I'm sorry, I've asked this before, but can I ask it again?" And that's okay with me. So we draw it out. I used to be a children's coach, so I love those aha moment when you break down the actual complex definition and get that aha moment in people. So I love doing that. And I think that the clients who do challenge me the most always helps me become a better coach in how I can break down that definition to a level that they understand. And um, yeah, so getting them to understand all the legal lingo is really hard. But sometimes lawyers speak their own language, and there is a disconnect between them and the client, and that's where I come in. I become the translator.
That's amazing. That is really, really important, and I'm sure requires different hats, like the way that you do work this. It seems like you're wearing this hat and that hat, like you're wearing the court hat,
Yeah.
like the coach's hat, you're wearing, the um kind of educational hat, and then you're wearing the advocacy hat.
Yeah. And I guess, it comes from personal experience. Within my case, my family law situation, um, my finances were frozen. So I found myself in a situation where I didn't actually have money to go fund a lawyer, a private lawyer. I did for a short term, but then I ended up blowing out $12,000 in a couple of months. So that wasn't sustainable for me. I was mainly the stay-at-home parent. And so I ended up having to go to family court in order to resolve my situation. And that um, process required me to really step out of my comfort zone. I'm not a lawyer by background. I was a pharmacist by trade.
Yeah.
And so it's understanding the process. And because I've been through that process, I've been able to ask the right questions and demystify that process. And that's what I actually bring for my clients, breaking down it into really manageable steps and helping clients really understand what do they need to do next? What do they need to prepare for the next step? And when they have actionable steps that they can prepare for the next or the steps ahead, it reduces the anxiety significantly. So they can think clearly, they can look at different options, and it
Mhm.
becomes more solutions based as opposed to reactionary. Because when you do find yourself in the back foot and you're reacting to how somebody's behavior is, you don't really have a sense of control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really awesome. I love that. Solutions based instead of reactionary.
yeah,
That is a sense of power. And with what you've just explained, it reminds me, and this just has been coming up lately. It's one of my favorite kind of sayings, I guess you can say, because I always strive as much in my own business, my own communication, my own coaching, is Brene, in the words of Brene Brown, clear is kind, right? So the
yes,
clearer that you can and the more solutions and understanding of the process, you're empowering your clients to take control back of a situation that feels very much out of control. So that's
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so um so to have a little bit more clarity, because I mentioned earlier in the introduction
yes,
about spread eagle. The dildo is across the harbor from Spread Eagle. So I just thought I would give a little bit of tiny education here and a little humor break,
yes,
education break. The community that's called Spread Eagle, which is across the harbor from the community of Dildo, only
yep.
in Newfoundland. Uh,
I love it. I love it.
Yes, Newfoundland. We're an island of just over 500,000 people with its own time zone. And yes, the town of Dildo, which is across the harbor from Spread Eagle. So Spread Eagle was a little small fishing settlement
Yeah,
is located in the actual bay of Spread Eagle Bay, which resettled in the year of 1967. So, and we're talking about, so Dildo's a town, but also it's a little bit of adult entertainment. So a little bit
yeah,
of a adult joke here that's suitable to go across the internet. Are you
yeah.
ready? I always say, none of us are getting out of this life alive, so we can't take it too seriously. So,
Look, if you can't laugh through it, and I've said this in a couple of my speeches, um, it takes less muscles to laugh than to cry and a frown.
yeah.
And um, and I can't afford Botox on child support.
All right, so
So
here's your non-invasive Botox fix then. Thanks.
that's right. Like I'm all into natural hacks, like if you have to hack into your feel good hormones, go for a big walk. If you another feel good hormones, go hug a pet. So
Yes.
wherever possible, uh, hack into those feel good hormones because, yeah, we can't spend too much money on the artificial stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, okay, so why don't dildos ever get into arguments? Do you want to take a guess?
Oh, hang on. Is this a joke?
This is a joke. Yeah. Why don't dildos ever get into arguments?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not
Because they're not interested in being hard on anyone. Boom, boom, boom.
sure. Boom, boom. We need to have those drum sounds.
Something to work on for the future.
I was thought I was trying to think, is it vibrating or something like that? But
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, thank you for participating in today's little humor break.
yes,
Once like you've taken us through like the three steps, you've taken us through kind of like how it works in the court system in Australia, which I think is absolutely amazing. The no fault system, that's really great. That's something I'll have to put on my list to kind of educate myself in the future. But
yeah.
once things kind of start to settle down in the courts and that process, is there any way that you help women rebuild not just their finances, but their confidence in creating a new life for themselves?
Yeah, for sure. So within my network or in my divorce management, I have trusted professionals. So at every step of the way, if they need psychological help and they are looking for family therapists, then I've got family therapists who are there that I can refer to. Um, if there is, they need to refinance to buy out their partner from their house, then I work with mortgage brokers, um, buyer's agent, real estate agents. So when people sign on with me, they sign on with a team behind me.
Mhm.
So when they actually go through each individual step, I break it down and I said, at this particular point, we need the XY professional. And here are three names. You can have a chat to each of them, and these are their pricing, and you can get to make that choice. So the same applies when they come out the other end after a separation and settlement where they get a financial payout, or they've got a parenting agreement in place. What we do is we look at next steps. So how do they reinvest that money? So do they actually want to buy a property on their own? Do they actually want to put that into shares, options, whatever it is? And sometimes it's an area where a lot of women are not familiar with because classically the husband or the other partner does look after that. So it's about re-educating them, making them feel comfortable. We've got great accountants on hand, financial advisors, um, property investors options. So it gives them an opportunity for them to have a trusted professional that I hand over and they take on to the next stage to help them flourish in their new life. So it is about working with the right people and I meet a lot of people on LinkedIn and within my networks and social events, but not all of them qualify for what I'm looking for. So the people that I choose to work with are really trusted professionals who have
Yeah.
the similar values as I do and are not there to rip up the client. And often, more often than not, what I've actually done is I've negotiated a deal for them to look after my clients as well. So they're not fed to the wolves and they come through with an understanding of the type of questions they need to ask because a lot of the times people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And if we give people a little bit of a sound base, some knowledge to get them started, and then once they become seasoned investors or property ownership, then it's, they can take that journey on by themselves. But yeah, a lot of the times when people sign on with me, they don't just sign on with me, but they've got a team behind me, and a lot of the times it's silent partners.
That's amazing. Yes. And I always love the acronym team is together everyone accomplishes more. So you've clearly
Exactly.
laid that out in such a trying time for many women in their lives.
Yeah,
So awesome.
yeah.
Uh, and so I want to go a little bit more because this podcast is a little more about like violence and trauma.
Yeah.
Uh, so how does your work intersect with helping women who may be leaving an unsafe or controlling relationship?
A lot of the times, if I've had a woman who is in that situation, I work with a lot of organizations who do help women flee from those situations. And what we do is we plan ahead. And sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 2 years. And you and I both know knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So once they're able to have a clear understanding of what their finances are, how they become financially independent, what they can do in terms of next steps, we can then start getting them in touch with services that
Mhm.
will help them. So in Australia, we do have caseworkers, and there is a charity out there as well called Relove. And what they do is they gather furniture from hotels or big companies when you've got, they could be making pillows and it's end of season and they're doing a new range of pillows. So they've got a whole heap of pillows that they can't do anything with about, and it adds to landfill. What they do is they give it to this charity. And what this charity does is they set up a warehouse that's very similar to as if you were going to a store. So
Mm.
in situations where we've got women fleeing from family violence, and they do have to set up a new home, they have a caseworker who gets referred on to Relove. And what Relove does is they take um, these women who they go through the experience, and they get to pick out the cushions, they get to pick out the furniture, they get to pick out the tables and the chairs. So it is a very dignified approach. So
Mhm.
they do feel empowered that they have some control on the things that they're picking up. And it's not somebody's rubbish on the roadside where they're picking up a chair here and a chair there, but it becomes an experience for them. So there's a lot of awareness in that space, and it's a lot of charities that I support as well. So it's becoming aware of all those different charities out there that can step up at every step so that I can connect them to the right one. So that's a really um, one that I've really had to really connect with the different charities to make sure that um, what services they offer. And
Yeah.
again, when women are in that space, they're not thinking about where they can get a chair or a mattress. They're thinking about the safety of themselves and their children.
Yeah.
So while they can do that, there's a lot of work that I can do to set up services in place to line up for them so that those services can hold their hand in that process.
That's amazing. And I love the name of that that one organization,
Yeah,
Relove.
Relove, it is amazing. It started off with a small charity a few years ago, and yeah, the two people who run it, Ben and Ren, are amazing people, amazing human beings. Ben
Oh,
and Ren, yeah, Renee and Ben. So yeah, they do an amazing job. So if you actually look them up on LinkedIn or on the internet, you'll be able to find them.
okay. I'll have to take a look. I'll definitely have to take
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, so the whole idea behind Dildo Dilemma is humor in the face of trauma to make it a little bit more light and I don't want to say palatable, but again, none of us are getting out of this world alive, so we not take it so serious, even though these are can be serious times that you're especially going through with divorce and potential violence and family.
yeah.
So have you seen any kind of specific moments where a sense of laughter has really helped your clients through some of the hardest, heaviest times they've been through?
Oh, look, I've had people who've come out the other end and they've become alcoholics or um, like they're so beaten down by the system. And I set up a group about 5 years ago, a Facebook group, and it's called Sydney Friends. So anybody who I feel has been displaced in the sense that, they're coming out of a relationship, the
Mhm.
biggest thing that they lack in a lot of these circumstances is the human connection.
Mm.
So we joined this group, Sydney Friends, and it's something that I set up a few years back. And there's about, I think, 1,700 people in there. And people come in and they join in, and it's an opportunity for us to organize events. So we sometimes have family picnics. We
Mhm.
might have a family cycle ride, and you can bring your kids or you can not bring your kids. We've got adults only events as well, where we do fancy dress up parties for Halloween.
Uh, yeah.
And we have long lunches at the rowing club. So we do these activities, and what we've found over the years is that people who've come out of situation where it could be DV or it could be the worst times of their lives, and they make some lifelong friends. And
Yeah.
I've had messages from these people who said, I used to be a recovering alcoholic or I used to be on anxiety medication, but because of this friendship group, I really see positivity in my life and I can see it changing. So those are the little stories that I do hear and the impacts that it has had. Um, so it's been really amazing to be part of that journey with these people.
Yeah, that's like an incredible story about the importance of social connection for health. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, so how often are we on Facebook groups or we
yeah,
just become people behind screens?
yeah.
And yeah, we changed that a few years ago and we said, let's do our first one. We did our first event. You had to come dressed up as wearing red, something red, so that we can find you. Because sometimes people don't put their profiles pictures up.
It's true.
Um, and so then we found people who were wearing red and we were saying, hey, are you here for the Sydney Friends group? And then, we were able to find them. And then after that, our second event, we did a James Bond night. So all the men have dressed
Oh,
up as James Bond and all the women get to be the Bond women. So that was
oh my
just,
God.
yeah, so we've had so many fun. We had heroes and villains one year. So I
Oh.
became Batgirl and my partner was the Joker. So we do these really fun things and it just really brings people out of their comfort zone, but it's an opportunity to make new friendships.
Yeah,
Yeah, and see a lot of laughter. And the good part is once they actually develop these friendships, they in turn reach out to new people who join the groups.
yeah,
So it becomes a very positive and almost like a pay it forward system.
yeah, yeah. I think that is absolutely awesome. Like that is so awesome, and it reminds us of our one speaking coach, Dale Stevens. She always says,
Yes.
"Fun, the most fun always wins," and that's a like true testament to that story of that group that you've created is a true testament to that. But also understanding you've brought a great analogy or like example of the power of connection through social media because I always say like technology, social media, all that kind of stuff is a tool for
Yeah.
good if you use it to do good with it, and that is a huge example of how it can make do so much good because you're on a line on a group, but really the intention of the group is to create a safe, supportive community outside of that online community so people overcome their split.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we have a zero tolerance when it comes to online bullying or anything like that. So
Yeah,
as soon as anything like that happens, they just get booted from the group and they know that it's a safe place.
yeah,
And it's just been so good to see a lot of people embrace it now as well. There might be a time when you have a free weekend without kids and you think, hey, I want to go to the movies and see this movie, but none of your friends are available. and you just put a post up there and say, hey, I want to go and see, I don't know, Avengers or whatever, anybody available. And then you just see a whole string of people go, yeah, I'll meet you there, I'll meet you there. And then they just go as a group and watch a movie together. I think it's just, it fills my bucket from afar, if that makes sense. Because I just look at it and I'll go, oh, they're making friends.
Oh my goodness, that's so, so amazing. So, Naomi, you are like the way that you've described everything and that you do everything with your split happens process with everyone is like you're a superwoman.
It's funny you say that because when I when my marriage ended in 2017, I was I was really devastated.
Yeah.
And my daughter was 5 at the time. And then 2018 came by and she said to me, Mum, I want a birthday party. So I said, okay, yep, but I didn't have the financial means to do a grand party and
Yeah.
hire entertainers and so forth. So I went onto Amazon and I bought her and I the Wonder Woman outfit.
Oh.
And so and so 6 is the only time where mums are allowed to dress up as daughter, with their daughters. Now she's 13 now. She's just mortified to
Yeah.
see
Oh.
me dressed up as her. Mum, you're so embarrassing. But at that time, I was really cool. And there was this at the end of the birthday party, her and I took a photo together and we did the Wonder Woman power pose.
Yeah.
And I looked back on that photo and she had this fierceness about her. So when I looked at that photo, it dawned on me and I just said, I've come out of a shitty situation. Oh, am I allowed to say that? I'm not sure.
This is the dildo dilemma.
Oh,
No worries. There's no like but
but I came out of such a shitty situation that I just thought, I looked at her and the fierceness in her eyes, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to become my children's superhero. So, despite whatever craziness I was experiencing, I was determined that I was going to fight for them to stay in their schools, for them to stay in their homes, and then everything else was just noise.
Yeah.
And that was my focus. So yeah, it took a physical costume to
Transformation.
really shift my thinking. But
Yeah.
I think it was just such an important one and an empowering one. So, yeah,
That is so awesome. And it's a
I'll
real
send you the photo actually.
yeah, please. I'll use can you say yes, that's awesome. I love it. It's that I've learned over the years in terms of learning, immersion is the fastest path to transformation. And it's like you had
Okay,
that pivotal moment of embracing fully what that belief is in that moment just by literally changing into your superhero costume, right? Everybody has that ability to do that in their life and take
totally.
that transformation. So, thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that story. That's amazing, amazing. So,
And it was also a hit on the dating sites too.
ah, yeah, if he can handle a strong superwoman, then you know it's going to be a good step forward.
Yeah, it was a good Tinder profile, let me tell you.
Oh my. Okay. So if you had one kind of thing that you could leave people listening to this podcast with in terms of a takeaway to navigate divorce, what would it be?
Look, we all have that. We all grew up having this fantasy about, wanting to get married, having a child, like all that white picket fence, and
Yeah.
it's a real fantasy. So my thing is shatter that fantasy to create your real dream.
Shatter the fantasy to create your real dream.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all those things
That's
that
real
society,
talk.
yeah, all that expectation, society, family, community, all that stuff, you got to find your dream and you got to shatter that expectation and create your own path.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, like real, like we say 1, 2, like
Yeah,
jab cross.
push. That's right.
Because it's like this is real talk, and that's what this podcast is about. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Naomi. So let tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and my handle is Naomi Cao Coach. So it's NaomiCaoCoach. That's a real test of my spelling for coach.
Good. Awesome.
So I'm sure you'll
Um,
have the handles in the comments.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
definitely. I'll put them there in the comments on social media on YouTube. And then
fantastic.
if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, then just follow along.
Yeah,
So today's conversation with Naomi has been really awesome and fun and super enlightening and super powerful because she's a superwoman. But she's reminded us, most importantly, what divorce can be, even though it can be painful, it doesn't have to define your story. You can reclaim your strength, your focus, and clarity, most important, because clear is kind. And Naomi's really showed us through her work that she's given emotional support, practical tools, and a safe space to be heard and empower women to rebuild, not just survive. And so that is
that's right.
exactly what this podcast is about, shining light on trauma, moving through it with some humor, and turning it into fuel for advocacy, awareness, and action. And just like Naomi's example here that she's been doing with her work since 2018, women, when they're supported and empowered, families heal, communities strengthen, and the cycle of violence begins to break and change. So, thank you so much, Naomi, for sharing all of this with us here and letting us know that as women, we don't have to be fragile, but we can turn that fragility into fierceness, and that your voice matters, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
So,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, you're super welcome. I loved hearing all the stories, and we got some good laughs. And then most importantly, we can punch back at life, one punch at a time. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with me here.
Thank you.